Hello and welcome to this video about football. Ah yes, football. The loving sport known around the world where you can just watch it and be like, hey, no, this is the wrong sport, this is wrong sport. Hey, get out of here. Shit, get out of here. Out of here. Now, however, this is bloody football. The excitement of the free kicks, watching someone dribble through the defensive line. It is a very good sport. And I know what you may be thinking. Hey, football is a kind of a wussy sport. Well, maybe for some people, but I am very passionate about football. And now, if you're a passionate football fan, you should know all about the major tournaments, the World Cup, the European Championship, Copa America, and so on and so on. But the one tournament that stands out before all is of course the UEFA Champions League. Probably the biggest club tournament in the world without a doubt. Now, why is it so great? You get to see the biggest clubs in Europe battling out to determine who is the best club in Europe. And in this video, I'm actually going to talk about this season's Champions League. So join me as I go through all the group stages, going through all the first results from the first round, and I'm gonna give my reflection over the matches and also tell you who I think will go through from each group. So, join me as we travel through the groups together. So, we're gonna start off with Group A. Paris Saint-Germain, Arsenal 1-1. Cavani scores in the first minute, then Sanchez equalizes in the 78th minute. A fair result, I would say. Those are probably the two best clubs in this group, and they will most probably go through to the next stage, which would be the knockout stages. Then we had Basel versus Ludogorets Razgrad. Steffen and Cafu, goal scorers, 1-1 as well. I would say a fair result as well, but Basel should have won this on the paper. It's fun to see Ludogorets. I think this is either their second or third time in the Champions League, which is fun for them. Uh, so yeah, nothing much to say, just draws everywhere. Going straight forward to Group B, we have Dynamo Kiev versus Napoli 1-2. Haradmach gives Dynamo Kiev a surprising lead in the 26th minute, but then 10 minutes later Napoli gets 1-1 with help of Arik Milik, and then scores yet again by the same player, Milik, in the 45th minute before halftime, and that's how it ends. Not a convincing victory for Napoli, even though they miss Gonzalo Higuain. They are still very strong, I would say. They still have very good players, but not a convincing victory on my books. Then we have Benfica versus Besiktas. Sarevik gives Benfica 1-0 lead, but then comes Talisha, I still don't know how to say that, gives the goal in the last minute and it becomes 1-1. A bit surprising result for Besiktas, but a little bit disappointing for Benfica, who could have easily gone away with 3 points, but they choked. Literally, they choked on the last minute and let in a goal. Unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And now we have Group C, and well, what can you say? No, like really, what can you say? Those numbers speak for themselves. Barcelona 7, Celtic nil. Hat trick from Messi, 1 goal from Neymar, 1 goal from Iniesta, 2 from Suarez. Amazing performance at the Camp Nou. It's Barcelona. What else can you say? It's goddamn fucking Barcelona. Then we have Manchester City again. Quite an amazing performance against Borussia Mönchengladbach, ended 4-0. A hat trick for Aguero and 1 goal for Iheanacho. Uh, I would say convincing victory for Manchester City, and I would say that Barcelona and City are probably the two clubs that will go through from this group. I don't see how, especially Celtic, would be any sort of a threat. Mönchengladbach, not much of a threat either, but I think they will have the third place at least. But like I said, convincing victories all around for Barcelona and Manchester City. But do you think that the annihilation stops here? No, 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 no. In comes Bayern Munich and totally runs over Rostov with 5-0 at home in Allianz Arena. Lewandowski with the 20th minute goal on a penalty. Müller scores before half time. Kimmich with 2 goals, which is surprising if I may add. Bernat with the 90th goal to put the nail in the coffin. I mean, like I said with Barcelona, it is a convincing victory for sure, so you can't really say much about that. However, I do want to point out that this is Rostov's Champions League debut, so this was their very first match in this major club tournament. Unfortunately, they don't really have the easiest opponents, and if we look at next results, it's not that convincing either. Atletico Madrid wins with only 1-0 against PSV Eindhoven. Saul makes the goal in the 43rd minute. I would expect at least one or two more goals from Atletico, but a win is a win, but it wasn't really convincing in my books. But I am convinced though that Bayern München and Atletico Madrid will go through to the round of 16. Now this is probably the most interesting group, and I'm going to explain why in just a moment. But let us take a look at the results. Bayer Leverkusen got a 2-2 draw at home against CSKA Moscow after goals from Mehmeti in the 9th minute and Çalhanoğlu in the 15th. Then Zagoev made 2-1 in the 36th minute, and Eremenko managed to equalize in the 38th minute before halftime, and that's how it stayed until the end of the game. Then Tottenham got a surprising loss at home against Monaco when Silva scored in the 15th minute and Lemar scored in the 31st minute, and then Alderweireld managed to squeeze in a goal before halftime, but that unfortunately didn't help them, so they eventually lost that match. Now, why do I think this is the most interesting one? It's because it's very equal in a way. Tottenham are very good, they have a very strong team, so is the case with Leverkusen, but when it comes to Monaco and CSKA Moscow, excuse me, they I can imagine they could be a threat because we have seen what CSKA Moscow has done in the past. They have managed to go through one time, but they also managed to go to Europa League somehow as well. But at the same time, Monaco could also be somewhat of a threat, but I think it's more against Leverkusen than it is to Moscow. So I'm gonna say anything goes here, but if I have to pick, I'm gonna say Tottenham and Leverkusen will go through from this group. Now, this is probably one of the easiest groups to predict from this season's Champions League. I mean, it's obvious that Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund is going to go through from here to the round of 16. But nonetheless, let us take a look at the results. Real Madrid Sporting 2-1, a very unlucky Sporting despite scoring at the 48th minute by Bruno Cesar. Ronaldo scored at the 89th minute and then Morata scored at the very last kick of the match, stealing 3 points from Sporting, who were very unlucky, I gotta say. They were playing very well, surprisingly well, but it didn't hold it all the way to the end. So, unlucky for Sporting. Hopefully, they will do better at the next match. But one team that had a good day, though, was Borussia Dortmund, who beat Legia Warszawa, who hasn't been in Champions League in many, many years. Won with 6-0 by goals from Götze, Papastatopoulos, Bartra, Guerreiro, Castro, and Aubameyang. Very convincing victory for Borussia Dortmund. Um, they look they look pretty strong this year. I'll say that much. They have done pretty good signings for this season, and I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna do very well. And again, Real Madrid is Real Madrid. You can't say much about the big teams. That is Real Madrid, Bayern München, Real. I was about to say Real Madrid again. I meant, of course, Barcelona. My bad. So yeah, you can't say much about Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid, really. Now we all know who the biggest focus in this group is, and that is of course Leicester City. After last season's amazing accomplishment by winning the Premier League for the very first time in their history against all the odds, they're now making their very first appearance in the Champions League. By a convincing victory over Club Brugge, they won 3-0 after Albrighton in the 5th minute, making him the first goalscorer in Leicester's history in the Champions League. Then Mars followed up with a fabulous free kick and managed to put in a penalty in the 61st minute to seal the deal. Now in the other match we had Porto versus Copenhagen, became a draw, surprisingly enough, a 1-1 draw to be exact, after a goal by Otavio in the 13th minute, then Cornelius stunned Dragao after making a 52nd goal to make it 1-1. And as we can see in the standings, Leicester City is leading before Copenhagen and Porto with the shared point. Now, who goes through from here? I'm going to say Leicester and Porto because Copenhagen, I think, is going to battle for third place with Club Brugge, but I think that Leicester is strong enough and is going to go to round of 16 for sure. I am pretty positive about it. And finally, we have Group H, and we're gonna first look at Lyon against Dinamo Zagreb, where Lyon won with 3-0 after goals by Tolisso in the 13th minute, Verri in the 49th, and Cornet in the 57th. And in the other match, we had Juventus versus Sevilla that unfortunately ended in a 0-0 draw. Reason why I say unfortunately is because I predict that these two clubs will go through to the round of 16 because Juventus is without a doubt the best club in Italy right now. They won Serie A for so many seasons now and they always look so strong both in the league and in Champions League. And then we have Sevilla who are also a pretty strong team. They always have a strong team whenever they are in Champions League and they always manage to go to Europa League at least. But in this time I think they could go through to the round of 16, but considering that only Juventus and Sevilla got a draw and Lyon actually won, I think it's gonna get a little bit harder for Sevilla. But who knows? They could turn around. They could maybe win against Lyon 2 times. But I'm gonna say Juventus will go through, but I think that Lyon and Sevilla will have a tough fight for second place. But Dinamo Zagreb will most definitely be last. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give this a like, and if you want to share your thoughts about who will go through from each group in the Champions League this season, tell me in the comment section below. But until then, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.